It's Kyle Kinsley again. This is that would be step 2 in the escrow stage. So this would be disclosures to the buyer. So I'll explain what that means. Basically, when you're selling a house in California, you have to disclose basically everything you know about the house. And if you haven't lived there, it could be a little more difficult, but you still have to fill out the paperwork. So within 7 days, you need to get all the disclosures back to the buyer. That's your obligation, and the buyer technically has 3 days after they receive the disclosures to back out. So they see something on the disclosures, maybe, who knows, maybe you painted or added on, you know, and they weren't okay with that, or, you know, there's a death on the property in the last 3 years, or whatever the case, the buyer, after receiving those disclosures, has 7 days to do it. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going to be deceiving the buyer. You're disclosing everything about the property. And there's not too many things that could happen that could be disclosed to the buyer that they're gonna be upset enough about to walk away. So it's not something that like you have to try to deceive, and it's best if you disclose absolutely everything. It's not best, it's definitely highly recommended. So you, like I said, you have 7 days to do that. And what the two main pieces of disclosures you're gonna have to do is the TDS and SPQ. These are questions about your house that only you can answer. So we physically can't send you an electronic signature just to sign this documents. We would have to either one, sit down with you, or two, send it over to you. You fill it out, and then yeah, but either we can type it up, or we can figure out a way to do it. But we need to get this SPQ and TDS back to the buyer. These are documents that they absolutely care about, so we would need to get that done, and those are questions that you need to answer yourself. We can't do that for you. We can help you though. If you have any questions on like what does this mean, we can explain, but we can't fill it out for you, which is could be a little difficult if you don't understand, because there's some big legal terms in there, so we could go over that. So if you are not sure, some of the questions on the TDS and SPQ are going to ask if you are located in a earthquake fault zone, or if you have any formaldehyde or anything like that. And it's they're very confusing. Like I said, these are all written by lawyers, so sometimes it's like, how am I supposed to know that? And if you're not sure, it's a no. So and you'll know. So if you had an insurance claim, you'd have to disclose that. A lot of things, so it's just best to over disclose if anything. So you don't have to tell me your life story, but you gotta disclose everything you know about the property. So with that disclosures, we're gonna get what's called an NHD report. As a seller in the real estate transaction, you need to provide an NHD report. It's $99, and it basically discloses quite a few things that maybe you even didn't know about the property. It's going to disclose like soil, pests, or any like endangered species or anything like that in the area. It's $99, and basically you have to sign off on that. But we would help you out that, and that's something that we can. You don't have to know that. We can electronically sign that, so it makes it easier. But this is basically your obligations to the buyer. You have to get this in, and it's required by law, basically. The quicker we get it in, the better. So usually it's, either me or someone on my team will be asking you where these disclosures are at very soon after we get an accepted offer. So that's basically what's next, and that's your obligation. We'll talk about the inspections and appraisal next. So.